Hey everybody, welcome back to Kimmell and Cox, your source for all things entertainment. I'm Keith Cox. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Dylan Kimmell.
Hello, everyone.
And we have come to the end of Season 1.
Oh my goodness, it is the final episode. It's the final countdown.
Yes, it's crazy. I can't believe we have already made it through an entire season. 24 episodes is what we ended up with.
It's kind of bittersweet, but at the same time, I'm also kind of relieved.
Yep, it is a pretty serious commitment, when you commit to doing a weekly podcast like this. And, it's been fun, but, but then you obviously have to think about scheduling and, trying to work all that. Luckily, we haven't had any issues.
Surprisingly, I thought we would have had more, honestly. But we made it work.
Yeah, but it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. We've definitely learned some things through this process and learning kind of where we can go from here, what we want to improve on, what we want to do differently. But I mean, I think even if you just watch our first few episodes compared to now, I mean, you see a remarkable difference in just in the format and us using different tools like graphics and clips and things like that. I mean, when we started out, it was literally just
the typical
sitting there talking and
it just started out with just
a one shot.
One shot.
Yeah.
Now we do want that one shot to return, but more so like interlinked with the
close-ups. Yeah.
Close-ups. Yeah.
But anyway, we've had a lot of fun with it, and we're definitely looking forward to things to come in Season 2. And
we got big things planned for Season 2 here.
Yes.
We'll probably have a different location.
The podcast will have a whole new look to it, which I'm really excited about. I think it's going to kind of kick things up a notch. But today, we are going to be wrapping up the season with a really great show. It's a Paramount Plus original series called Tulsa King.
Tulsa King.
Yes, it is created by Taylor Sheridan, who created Yellowstone, which is another hugely popular TV series right now.
I've not seen Yellowstone or the prequels to it, but
it's really great. I mean, it's just phenomenal television. Just the way that the writing is excellent. The cinematography it has more of a cinematic feel to it. And just the stellar cast that they have involved. I mean,
they have A-list cast all around.
I mean, Kevin Costner. I mean, who would have ever thought of Kevin Costner doing a television series? So,
I mean, they even got Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren in one.
Yeah, so I mean, they're bringing their A game. Taylor Sheridan with these shows that he's creating. But Tulsa King premiered on November 13th. 2022, so just last year, not all that long ago. And it stars Sylvester Stallone in his first starring role in a scripted television series. And he plays Dwight the General Manfredi. Also stars Andrea Savage as Stacy Beal, Martin Starr as Bodie, Jay Will as Tyson, Max Casella as Armand Troisi, Dominic Lombardozzi as Charles Chicky Invernizzi, Vincent Piazza as Vince Antonacci. That's a very Italian show if you can't tell by the names. A.C. Peterson as Pete Invernizzi, Garrett Hedlund as Mitch Keller, and Dana Delaney as Margaret Devereaux. So just a huge cast in this show, and that's not even everybody. That's just the main cast. That's not including recurring characters.
Yeah. So I mean, you introduced me to this one here,
yes.
And when I started watching it. It's really good. I love the opening credits there. Those are amazing. You said they were similar to the Yellowstone there too. They kind of
the quality, yeah. It has kind of a similar vibe to it, and I mean, I am a huge Sylvester Stallone fan. So when they announced this series, I was really pumped about it, and I was like, it's like I still kind of had my reservations. I mean, Stallone is always going to bring his best to whatever he's doing, but at the same time, I'm like, it just he's been so used to doing films for so long that I was like, wondering how is it going to translate to a TV series. But it's perfect. I think it's a perfect vehicle for him, especially at this stage in his life, because even though he can still play those
tough guy,
the action heavy roles. At some point it's like, he's 76 now, and it's like at some point, as much as we love characters like Rocky and Rambo, when they kind of get to a certain age, it's like you almost don't want to see them play those characters anymore, because they're kind of meant for, typically for younger guys, younger actors. And so a role like this allows him to play something that I think is a little bit more suited to, where he's at in his own life. I mean, but he's still a tough guy, and he still kicks ass, but it's not like, it's different. But I mean, it sucked me in right from the very beginning, the first episode.
I mean, I like I like mafia stories, and this actually brings two worlds together: the mafia story and a cowboy type of western vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
With there's a ranch and everything, and horses and.
Yeah, mixing two completely different genres, pretty much together.
It does it very seamlessly too.
Yeah, it does. It really works. I mean, the whole premise of the show is that Dwight, Sylvester Stallone's character, has been in prison for the last 25 years, and he's just been released from prison, and he goes back to his mafia family in New York, expecting to kind of come right back into the family, and he thinks that everything is going to be just like it was before, and he's just going to get right back into the action. But no, there's been some changes in the family. Dwight is a former mafia capo, and he finds that when he comes back home, he has been replaced by somebody else, and the boss of his mafia family, which is Pete Invernizzi, who is kind of in bad health himself. Like he's hooked up to an oxygen machine, and
he's on his last.
He's sort of on his way out, and his son has sort of taken over, and then his son has all these guys working for him that used to take orders from Dwight, and so they decide to send Dwight to Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places. And in the beginning, he kind of feels almost like he's being exiled there.
Yeah, and which in a way, I think that was their intention, too, was just to exile him.
Yeah. I think they thought he would fail. They're like, we'll send him someplace where he can't possibly stir up any action. He wants to get his old criminal activities going again, and, they kind of do it under the guise of wanting to help him out, but, in reality, they're just kind of hoping that he will fail. But he doesn't. He rises above everything and somehow manages to, once he gets out there, it's a little bit tough at first. He's trying to get to know people, but I mean, right from the first day, he's already getting things going.
I mean, he's out of he'd been out in prison since 1999, I think it was it?
I think so, yeah.
Somewhere in the 90s. is when he was arrested. But so there's a whole advancement in technology that's lost on him, and he's learning all that, but also learning, how things are now. And he, I guess that's another thing they thought he would fail in, is trying to figure, but he has the determination.
Yeah, I mean, he, again, he goes into it, like you said, a lot of things have changed. There's smartphones and things like that now, and so he's getting used to, new technology, but also like realizing that he can't do things the way that he used to back then. He can't just walk in and just, take over things. I mean, one of the first things that he does is he goes into this local marijuana dispensary, which is run by the Bodie character, played by Martin Starr. And
now Martin Starr, he's if you're not familiar with him, he's actually in the Spider-Man movies as one of the teachers.
Oh, right, yeah.
And actually, he had a small role in Incredible Hulk 2.
Oh, right. I forgot about the pizza guy.
Yeah. So the rumor is that his MCU character, that's the same guy.
Oh, okay. He's just in a different position, but it's
yeah.
the same guy.
But it's so funny because if you look at him, that's his if you look at any interviews with him and everything, you notice how Bodie kind of looks like he's high all the time. Mm-hmm. He actually looks like that all the time.
Yeah, that's just his normal.
That's his normal face.
But it works. It works perfectly for a role like this. And
yeah.
So Dwight, walks into this dispensary, and more or less just comes in there and takes charge. He realizes what's going on, and
he names off all their weak points right off the bat. And
he goes into the office and looks in the safe and looks at how much cash is piled up in there. And he's more or less you need protection, because that's kind of what the mafia does. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like not extortion, but where they more or less these businesses basically pay them to keep them protected or whatever, and at the same time they get a cut of the profits. And so that's what Dwight is trying to get set up here. Bodie's he's like, this is old school way of thinking here. That's not, he's because they've never had any problems. He's like, it's not like it was in the old days. He's like, this is legal. That's one of the things that Dwight has to get used to. He's like, weed is legal here, and he's like, we don't need protection. This is perfectly legal. People can come and go as they please, and there's nothing shady going on here. But anyway, he still comes in, he does his thing, and he's like, this is how it's going to be, and then he goes to a local bar, which is owned by the Mitch character, and Mitch is like a former, I think, rodeo cowboy or something like that that's opened up this bar, and eventually Dwight develops a partnership with him. And his business, and they decide to kind of change up the place and give it kind of a different vibe and sort of class it up a little bit, and so it doesn't take him long before he rounds up his crew there in Oklahoma, and he's right back into the middle of the action. He
kind of steps on some toes there too, though. But so the biker gang.
Oh yeah, you have. What's his name? Richie Coster plays Cowland Waltrip, he's this Irish leader of this biker gang called the Black McAdams. And
I do like that line. He's like, I'm sensing because the guy's trying to negotiate with him and telling him to back off, and this is his territory. He knows it and everything. He's like, no, I don't think you do. I'm sensing a little bit of Chucky Charm or Lucky Charms, Lucky Charms thing. Chucky Charms.
Chucky
Oh,
Charms.
Chucky Charms. Oh, shoot.
Like
That's something different.
Chuck E. Cheese and Lucky Charms kind of getting mixed up there.
You just see the Chuck E. Cheese mascot on the Lucky Charms box.
But he definitely stirs up some trouble. Like as soon as he comes into town, and he becomes romantically involved with the Stacy Beale, played by Andrea Savage, who is an ATF agent. So this is like not somebody that somebody in his line of work would normally associate with, but
he kind of comes upon her on accident.
Yeah, and they meet up actually in the bar, and she's there with a bunch of her girlfriends, and they end up hooking up, and then he realizes later that the first thing is she realizes how much older than her he is, and so there's like that age gap, the generation gap, and then she's sort of like, at first it's like it's almost like she really likes him, but then when she realizes like the age difference, like it's almost like it's kind of
I just
she's
hooked
kind of
up with my grandpa.
Basically hooked up with somebody that's like my grandfather's age. But then he learns that she's an ATF agent, and that sort of compromises their relationship a little bit, because she really does like him a lot as a person. So when she discovers the truth about him, where he came from, and then he's a mafia capo, like she kind of hides some things from her coworkers, her fellow ATF agents, and which could get her in a lot of trouble, because she's kind of trying to help him, help Dwight, but she's keeping these secrets that could compromise her job and
her livelihood and everything,
and also allow Dwight to continue getting away with his activities. So because the FBI wants to take him down.
There's this. Now this is kind of off. Well, it's on topic, but at the same time, it's like I can't think.
Inconsequential.
Yes, thank you. The part where there's that little area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is that a real place where there's like no sound that gets to it?
I wondered that too. I wondered if that's really a thing.
I'm gonna go there and just kind of
try it out.
See.
Yeah, there's like this spot in like the middle of town. It's like this big circle or whatever, and one of the townspeople there tells Dwight that supposedly you can stand in the middle of that spot, and you can look all around you and you can't hear anything. It's like just some kind of a weird wormhole or something where I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a plot device, but it could, because it doesn't seem thing.
Because it doesn't seem like it would be a real thing, but it's like one of those weird mysteries of the world where there's something odd about it, but you're like, that can't be real. Then you go there and it's like, oh, it's real.
And there's this thing where there's this horse. There's this horse that keeps
getting out
through keeps getting out of his stall and just comes walking into town, and he's like, and Dwight's just like, watching this horse and like
he's fascinated by it.
It's like, what is going on here?
Like he even makes a habit of just sitting out, to just watch the horse as it comes along. He's like, at one point he's like having coffee or something, and he's like,
the horse comes walking down the middle of the street.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just waiting for that horse there.
but he becomes intrigued by it, and eventually buys the horse. And funny little piece of trivia: the girl that plays the barista at the local coffee shop is actually one of Sly's daughters.
Is she really?
Yeah, Scarlett Rose Stallone. And so she kind of has a little part in the series there, because eventually he buys the horse
and gives it to her.
Yeah, and gives it to her, or she takes care of the horse for him, because he learns that she loves horses and she has experience with like training them and riding them, and so that was a cool little thing, the way that he managed to kind of get some of his family in there. There's actually a different. His character has a daughter in the series, but
that's a different actress, not related
different
to
actress,
him.
not at all related to Sly. It's actually Tatiana Zappardino plays Tina Manfredi. And she does a really good job too. I mean, you could easily see them being related. So that was pretty good casting there. But again, Dwight gets himself into all kinds of trouble. When he comes into Oklahoma, he's doing well. He's like, he starts making money really quick, and he's sending money back to his family. But some of the guys in the family don't particularly care for that. The fact that he's doing so well, namely Chicky, which is Pete's son. Chicky wants to be the head of the family.
Yeah.
And we, and the spoiler alert here, but we learn just how desperately he wants to be the head of the family, because he ultimately ends up taking out his dad and kills him, drowns him in a bathtub. I'm like, it's pretty cold. I mean, your dad is already like ill.
Yeah, and then
you decide you're just gonna because it becomes clear that Pete has always favored Dwight. He's always kind of been his right hand man, but Chicky feels like, because he's his son, he feels like he's entitled to that role, and so it becomes clear that Pete is not going to give him that, and he's not going to give him that honor. So he's like, well, I'm just going to take it for myself. And so I thought that was a pretty cold-hearted move there.
Yeah, and he kind of sheds his I guess the wig there was kind of symbolic of him, changing character or whatever.
Yeah, he kind of had that narcissism or whatever there, because he was going bald, and so he was always wearing these toupees or whatever. And then
to be honest with you, when he took off the wig, I had to rewind it back and everything, because I missed it. And when the guy comes up later and he's bald, I'm like, wait, who is that?
Yeah, it's like, the same guy. Yeah, but yeah, it gets pretty ruthless. In this show, they eventually, send some guys to Oklahoma to try to take Dwight out. They want to take him down, but Dwight has already got his crew around him. He's got all these guys that are basically his Cowboy Mafia, and they sort of get into a little battle royale with each other. Actually, one of the guys, Goody, the character of Goody.
Oh yeah.
He leaves the family in New York and joins up with Dwight.
Right.
So it was interesting how that all shifted.
Because that guy actually, that guy had Dwight's back from the beginning and everything, but he was trying to keep it all together and everything, but then he realized, I can't do that. So he moves on over to the other side. Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think that the series is terrific. Just the way that it was a perfect way to bring somebody like Stallone to television, because prior to that, really the only television he'd done, he did a couple of reality shows where he was the host, like The Contender, which was a boxing competition.
He's got another reality show coming up, the Stallones.
Right. Was it the Family Stallone?
The Family Stallones. Yes. Yeah.
That's also going to be on Paramount Plus. So I'm actually looking forward to seing that. That'll be interesting to see.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
Just what his day-to-day life is like. But yeah, I mean, he just does such a great job in it. I mean, from the opening of the first episode, him getting out of prison, and then the scene, I guess, that really pulled me in was when he goes back home and he's talking with the family, and realizing what their plans for him are, and he just like, he just comes down on them. They're all fighting, and and he's like, he's basically, stating his case, and is like, he's hurt, he's angry and emotional because he feels like his family is almost like turned on him or whatever. He thought that he was going to be greeted warmly, and suddenly everything his whole world has changed. And so he kind of makes this great little speech, as Stallone is apt to do in a lot of his best roles, his movies and things. He has these great little like monologues and things.
Shoot, the scene that I'm like, ooh, because it's one of those things where, if you're protective over someone, you're going to, show it one way or another.
I know what you're talking about,
when he finds out about what happened to his daughter so he goes over there and he literally murders the guy.
Yeah, just beats him to death.
Yeah,
that was a powerful scene for me too. Like him realizing that someone that he used to trust, would do that. Would attack his daughter. I guess sexually assault her, and I mean he
like she tells him not to do anything, just forget about it. But he's like,
it's like he's not going to let that go. It's not only about like protecting his family, but it's like an honor thing. That's just how it is. In the mafia, it's like there's certain things that you don't do. You cross that line, and you're going to be dead. Like everybody just knows. And even Pete, like because he's trying to figure out. He goes to see Pete in the hospital, and he's trying to figure out if Pete was aware, if he knew anything about it, which he doesn't. He can tell on his face that he's surprised by that. And so once he realizes that's when he decides to go and take matters into his own hands. And Pete doesn't really care. He's more or less like, that's just the way it is. Like if somebody did that to my daughter, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And and Chicky is more like, he just took out one of our guys. But he sides with Pete, sides with Dwight in that scenario.
And that's
when Chicky decides to kill him. He's like, well, you're, he's clearly like your favorite or whatever. You're taking his side over your own son, and my point of view. But a lot of exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. I mean, even with the biker gang there, because the biker gang tries to take them out too, and doesn't. Of course, it doesn't end well because Sly's character's got the upper hand. He's figured out everything, and
but the series has proved to be extremely popular. Actually, the premiere episode had 3.7 million views.
Oh, wow!
Which turned out to be the best cable premiere of 2022.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, so
we definitely might get a season 2. Have they greenlit it?
Yep, it has been renewed for a second season.
Yes.
Yes,
finally, like that cliffhanger. Because I hate it when the TV show's like canceled. It has a very good cliffhanger, and there is a cliffhanger. So
because at the end in the season 1 finale, Dwight actually ends up. We see that he's going to kind of end up in the same place that he started, because Stacy actually kind of turns on him, and she gives the FBI all of this information that she has on him, and they end up arresting him, and that's where season 1 ends, is with him being arrested, and they're carting him off to prison. So it's kind of I'm wondering how that's going to work out, and like obviously if there's going to be a season 2, he's not going to stay in prison, so you have to figure out how exactly that's going to work out. Is he
how is he going to get out of that? Is he going to
break out, or is somebody going to work some kind of a deal, or but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where season 2 goes.
Be quite interesting. And I do think, that is impressive that it's gotten that much. It has that much of a following there, and I'm really looking forward to season 2 there, because after that I was like, what? No, you can't end it that way.
You can't end it like that. It's like, I mean, they could, I guess.
Yeah, it would be a very somber ending, but
if they and they probably did it that way on purpose, because they might not have known at that point whether it was going to get picked up for a second season. Mm-hmm. So like, well, we'll end it this way just in case, because that way it's like if he goes off to prison, then
that's the end of the story.
That's the end. That could be the end of the series, unless they, but now
it's always kind of tricky, I think, when you're making a TV show. You don't know if it's going to be renewed or not, and I hate it when they're like, "Oh, well, you're canceled." And I guess it doesn't matter if there's not much views on that show, but if it was like a big show and it ends on a cliffhanger episode, and you're like, "What happened? I need to know what happened."
Yeah,
and. There are some movies like that too, where they expect to make another one, and they leave it in a cliffhanger, and you never see a sequel to that. Like the Hellboy series, there's supposed to be a third one after that, and you'll never know. So I'm pretty excited to see the rest of that, and I mean. I'm curious what Sylvester Stallone's going to do next. I'm always curious on that. So.
Yeah, because he's a really talented writer and director himself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember at one point, like, the only reason I actually have any of these social media stuff, like Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, is just to be like, there's
follow the celebs.
Yeah, that's the only reason. I don't really care to tell people what I'm up to or anything like that. Yeah. I'm kind of a pretty private person, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Even I'm kind of private. I don't really indulge too much info, even to you sometimes, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are kind of going that way now, and my wife is that way too. I mean, that's really the only thing she does on social media. She has her favorite.
Yeah.
Celebrities and stuff that she follows on there, and maybe a few close friends. But
it does make you kind of giddy a little bit there when they start, favoriting your like or comment or whatever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of millions of people that get that, but it's just that one moment of he actually noticed. That.
And
there was one moment where he's like talking about screenwriting and how. He's saying how he has a hard time with dialogue, and he pretty much loves he congratulates anyone that is with that profession of writing the dialogue, because they have some hard work, and the way they're able to pull that off is just exceptional and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I've been told that I'm good at that, the dialogue and stuff like that. I mean. So that I like, I kind of like said, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but or maybe I'm not paraphrasing because I'm not really shortening what I said, but what's the opposite of paraphrasing? Well, anyway,
I guess it would just be being direct or whatever. It would just be
But I was basically saying thank you for that. And he favorited that. And I just thought, well, I hope I didn't state myself or anything like that, because I don't know how well my dialogue is. I mean, I know you said it's good. Brittany has said it's good. And, there's a whole bunch of people that said that, But I guess it's kind of like nobody, like me writing it, I'm like, is it good? I don't know. But,
yeah, I think you do have a knack for your scripts, the dialogue, it flows very freely and easily, and it sounds very natural. Like as you're reading it, you can totally imagine these characters saying these words, and I think it helps too, because in some cases you already have certain actors in mind to play those roles, and so you're kind of writing for somebody, the little nuances and things of the ways that they speak and behave, and so you kind of write the character around that.
Yeah, even maybe write their accent in the dialogue there, how they,
because you're kind of hearing it in your head. It's like, okay, I can hear.
Don't really need to be accurate, grammatically accurate with the dialogue because people don't speak grammatically correct. I know I don't speak grammatically correct. I mean, I'm sure that sentence is not grammatically correct.
Well, and something that I found, like when on the rare occasion when I would write, is that for the most part I would try to. I wouldn't try to do the grammar thing, like like where we sometimes when we talk, words that end in ing. We leave that G off when we're, like, so instead of saying, like we're talking right now, we'd say we're talking.
Yeah.
And
I'm watching TV.
Yeah. And so, like, I usually would try to avoid that in scripts, and I would just write it, the normal way and leave it up to the actor to add those nuances. If it feels more natural for them to change up that grammar a little bit. I might do that with certain characters because I feel like if there's ones that where I'm like I really really want that character to speak that way, and that's the way I envision it. That's the only way that I see them speaking. Then I might throw those things in there. But for the most part, I just kind of leave it as it is and leave it up to the actor.
Yeah, and that's another thing. The writing in this show is actually pretty spot on too. The lingo, I think they even make reference to the one guy, the African American actor. I'm forgetting the character's name.
Jay Will that plays Tyson.
Yeah. And he'll actually call Stallone his gangster.
Yeah. It's like gangsta.
My gangsta.
And he doesn't like that. He's like it's more or less like, it's like what? Like you. It's like he's almost offended. Like, you.
Yeah, you've offended him in some way.
It's like you think just because I'm an Italian, I came from New York, that I'm a gangster, and it's like, well, you kind of are.
Yeah. But he's like, no. It's just the saying. It's just a figure of speech. Yeah.
But he thinks that he throws that term around too loosely. Mm-hmm. Because in his mind, Dwight, he's like, that's no laughing matter to him.
Yeah, that's slander.
It's a serious thing. But and it's just so funny how he met all these people because
it's like the very first people he met and everything like that.
Yeah, it's like everybody he comes into contact with kind of becomes a part of his crew, because Tyson used to be a taxi driver, and he decides to recruit him as his own driver.
Yeah, he's like, you're my driver now. You're no longer a taxi driver. You're my driver.
Hands him a wad of cash, and it's like, it's like, I'm going to pay you, way more money than you would ever make, as a taxi driver.
My gangster.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, the show is just so well written, and I think that's a big reason why it is successful.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if Sly ends up writing or directing any episodes of the
I'm
series
sure he
himself.
will. I mean, there's a good number of actors whoever is leading a TV show or whatever will eventually like direct an episode here or there. Like I'm thinking of a few. I mean, obviously the Barry episode have been directed by Bill Hader. Breaking Bad, which I know you haven't watched any of that. Bryan Cranston directs a couple of those. I'm sure Stallone will direct at some point.
Sometimes you got to let that get through that first season and see how everything's gonna go, and then usually from then on, then the cast members will slowly start directing episodes themselves. And
I mean, I loved all the movies that he's directed himself.
Oh yeah.
He directed a few of the Rambos, right?
Mm-hmm. And well, he directed. I know he directed the fourth one.
The fourth one.
And I think that's the only one of the Rambos.
Yeah, because I'm starting to think about it. I don't think he's directed the last one even.
Now Rocky,
he's directed a lot of those,
directed
right?
Several of those. He directed, let's see, 2, 3, 4, and Rocky Balboa, and then all the rest of them were.
I've seen all the Rocky movies, but I've only seen one Rambo movie, and that's the first one. I've only seen the first one.
Oh, First Blood.
There's a good reason for it too, is because I felt like the sequels were cash grabs, basically, because they had a success with the first one, and I felt like the first one had a strong point to it.
Yeah,
a very serious matter, because it's a movie about PTSD,
right?
And I felt like the sequels undermined that characteristic. Yeah.
It was like suddenly
it's kind of glorifying this character, which is not to be glorified. He's like he ill.
It was kind of like, especially, and I would still recommend watching all the movies, because because there is some good stuff in there. Mm-hmm. But like, I felt like the second and third one, it definitely kind of dismissed that PTSD aspect of his character, and it was almost like it was a forgotten thing. But the fourth one, that was just called Rambo, which he directed, kind of, I thought, got back a little bit more to closer to the essence of his character, and the last one wasn't bad either. Last Blood was really good. I liked that, because that one brought him into, instead of like putting him into like the jungle or some third world country or something,
he's protecting his home.
He's protecting his own home and his family. This girl that he had it's his daughter. It turns out to be, I haven't seen it in a while. I think it turns out he raises her as his niece, but I think it actually turned out to be his daughter, if I remember correctly. But
okay.
Again, it's really good. Just how he uses those things about his character to defend his home. And
then another thing that I like about Stallone is he does have a sense of humor too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's been in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies currently. He was in the Suicide Squad as the voice of King Shark. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. That was actually probably the funniest part of that movie was his character.
So smart, me.
Yeah.
And then there's the Expendables. Their actions and everything, they're more so action than they are comedy, but there's comedy within it.
Yeah, they're kind of poking fun at themselves because he's gotten all these former action stars packed into one movie.
I love the scene with Chuck Norris and everything. Me and my brothers, I say brothers because we're close knit, so they essentially are. They're not by blood, but by, their family.
Yeah.
But we would actually pick out the characters we were in the movie, so my character kept on changing. At first I was Jet Li's character in the first one. Is it Jet Li?
Yeah, Jet Li.
Because I'm the shortest one of everyone. So, let's see. And then there's Cody. He's Stallone's character. Then we got Steven. Oh, he's Jason Statham's character. Then Josh. Oh, he's Dolph Lundgren's character. Because that just fits our personalities.
Yeah.
And then when the sequels came out, my character kept changing or whatever. And the characters kept changing because at that point, Chuck Norris was Cody. And I love that scene with Chuck Norris where he's like, they're doing the Chuck Norris joke with Chuck Norris.
Right. It's great when he says something. I can't remember what it was. It was something.
He's like, I heard you got bitten by a king cobra. I was. And after 7 agonizing days, the cobra finally died.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to when you see actors like that who are very like, you know, self-deprecating. You know, they don't like, even though they're stars, it's like they understand like the jokes, you know, about themselves, and they come along for the ride, you know, and they eventually just start kind of parodying themselves after a while. I mean, there's so many actors I can think of, you know, who do that. You know, David Hasselhoff is another one, big one. He just became like, you know, everybody like poked fun at him, you know, for so many years, the Baywatch thing, and then and now he's just totally like he
started as a cameo as SpongeBob as the same character, and then he shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as just like a brief moment, like
just random, you know.
But it was completely random. Like, wait, what? And why is he?
But it's like he's building. People like that are building a whole new career off of that. You know, that
off of that joke on them, And they're just playing into the joke. So,
But you do. You have to. I think, you know, when you get to that level, you have to have a good sense of humor about things, and you can't. You have to have thick skin, and you know, you can't let that stuff, you know, get to you too much. And the best way to take power over it is just to do it yourself.
Last thing, I want to try and bring this back. I know we've kind of stepped back on doing that, but for roles in this TV series, what would you want to play as if you could?
That's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. Probably... I could probably either see myself as either as the Bodie character, you know, which is the owner of the weed dispensary, or Mitch, the owner of the bar.
I could see that. I could see that.
You know, I think those would be, out of all the characters, I think those would probably be the ones that, you know, that would suit me the best, where I would be believable as those characters.
I think I've come to terms with the fact that me being so broad-shouldered and everything like that, I don't think people would buy me as one of those characters. Personality-wise, probably, but I'm starting to figure out that, you know, I don't know if I'm believable enough, because I had a conversation, like I found out my supervisor at work, when he first was introduced to me, he at first thought I was a firefighter. And I was like, "What? Why?" And he's like, "Just the way you're built." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I mean, other people, you know, can kind of see you differently than you see yourself. And,
I didn't see that for myself, but hey. So I'm thinking, for me personally, if I were to play a part, I would probably play getting all tongue-tied. One of the villains, I think I'd probably play one of the villains.
I could almost see that too. Even like the guy from the Black McAdams.
Oh yeah,
like the Irish guy.
Yeah,
you know, I could almost see you doing something like that too.
I honestly was thinking that I'd like to play something like that. That seems kind of fun, actually. Yeah. Just how ruthless he is. He's like very manipulative in a way, and then kind of, you know, he gives you a false sense of security, and then automatically, you know, takes it out when you're least suspecting it, as he so did with the one woman that was he found out was a
she was like a kind of like an informant.
Yeah,
like
an informant.
Snitch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, and the TV show, I don't know about direct. I would direct some of the episodes and everything, but writing, I would definitely write something like this. This is phenomenal. Oh, yeah. Actually, I think I even pitched something that was kind of similar to this with you, about the police officer and the Marine and the inmate and everything. And so and I'm still wanting to do that, but that's probably going to have to be
down the road.
Yeah, down the road there, because it's very, very in depth and very complicated. Would need to do a lot of research.
But yeah, but it's excellent. It's an excellent show. Highly recommend it. And so be sure to get on to Paramount Plus and check that out. And also, I think if you have the Paramount Network, like if you have cable, if you have the Paramount Network, it's on there as well. So if you don't have the Paramount Plus app, you can watch it on the Paramount Network. But anyway, that's we're just about out of time here. Wrapping up the episode, wrapping up the season. But before we go, as always, we just want to remind everybody to be sure and subscribe, like, and share to our YouTube channel. And when you do subscribe, just make sure that you're tapping that little bell icon so that you can receive all the notifications whenever new content or videos are posted.
Yes, and just because the season is over does not mean that our YouTube or anything.
It's a very good point. Yeah. Yes, we are going to be busy this summer. We have some big plans and surprises coming up. So definitely keep your eyes on our socials, and we'll have all those links for you down below. But keep your eyes on those pages as well as our YouTube channel, because we're still going to have stuff coming your way, even though we're taking the summer off from the podcast. So, and again, be sure to leave your comments and questions and suggestions and things like that for us. You can do that by commenting on the episodes here on YouTube, or go to our socials, or you can email us at our official podcast email. A lot of different ways where you can talk to us, get in touch with us, and just let us know what you think. What do you think of the first season of the podcast, and where would you like to see it go in season 2? We kind of have our own ideas, for what we'd like to do, but we're always open to suggestions, and because we want to try to make this the best that it can possibly be, and
absolutely,
and for one last time, speaking of that, be sure to check out our Patreon page and check out some of the perks that we're offering on there. It gives you all a chance to contribute directly to the podcast, and every dime that you choose to contribute on there goes towards the podcast, production and things of that nature. And it's just a way for you to be more directly involved in helping us to make this a better podcast. So
yes,
but anyway, that's all the time we've got for today, and we certainly hope that you will join us for the next season. We'll be coming back in.
We'll be coming in strong too.
Yes.
In what month?
September. Yeah.
September.
And so we look forward to that, and hope you're looking forward to that as well. But in the meantime, just keep an eye on everything, and to see what we'll be up to in the months between now and then. But until next time, as always, be good to yourselves, and we'll catch you later. You dipstick.